And I never fit the shoe until I do or something. Yo, bracing myself like teeth, boy, it's the same old route on some new concrete. But homie, these tunes make you get a new ID. I'm trying to do.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode on Bigger Profits. And today I actually want to go over a live seller call and really just talk about the lead and the deal in general, because I think a lot of these things can really help you, especially if you're looking to do deals in other markets. But really just when you're having conversation with sellers and you're going to have to negotiate a lower price to make the deal work. So just to talk about the deal itself, it actually came from one of our lead qualifiers in the Philippines. Now, if you don't know what a lead qualifier is, it's really a cold caller, a VA cold caller, but I don't like to call them VAs or cold callers. I actually tell them that because I want them to feel empowered. I want them to feel more valuable than just a VA, some virtual assistant from the Philippines or a cold caller. But anyway, the lead actually came from Jason, our lead qualifier in the Philippines, and it was from a list that I pulled. And he cold called, had the conversation with the seller, was open to selling, and basically passed it along to me to have the conversation to basically get it under contract and get the deal closed. So when I had the conversation with the seller, there were some interesting things that happened. Well, number one, the property that I had originally seen, because I looked it up a little bit before getting on the call, actually ended up being a little bit more worse in condition. There was actually some fire damage things. I mean, these are things that I won't know until I talk to the seller. But I found out that there was some fire damage. Now, apparently, it wasn't like, the whole kitchen was on fire. The roof has like a huge hole. It only burned the exterior walls and some exterior things and potentially some wiring. But that definitely just means that the electrical is going to have to be updated. And then a lot of other things, I'm sure, as well with the property. But basically, the property was in worse shape than I originally thought. But I did my normal conversation with the seller that I normally would have and figured out what the ARV before I got on the call with them. Now, when I figured out the ARV, typically what we're trained to do if you're getting into wholesaling or just real estate in general as an investor, you want to look at what's called ARV, right? So you take the after repair value, the value of this property after it's repaired, and it's basically like a HGTV fix and flip listed on the market. It's beautiful, brand new renovated property. That's called the ARV, and there's some ways to find that. I'm not going to go too much into detail in this video on how to find the ARV, but that's what we're trained to do. Look at comps, figure out what the ARV, the after repair value is, and then there's a simple equation to get to what you can offer the seller for a wholesale deal, right? So you do the ARV times 0.7 and then minus repairs, and 0.7 is just 70% of that value of the property, and then minus repairs after you get that number, and then minus your wholesale fee, and then that's what you can offer the seller. Because if you offer the seller, let's say, $50,000, and then you want to wholesale it for $60,000, and then there's some room for repairs for a fix and flipper to buy it at 60, and then obviously sell it on the market at least about a 30% margin for them to make their profit. So that's really how that works. Now, that's great when you're looking at a property that has a lot of comps or has comps in general. You can figure out the ARV, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're in a new market, just a tip for you guys, if you're in a new market, one of the things that you could also do is you want to find out comps in terms of cash buyers. What are buyers buying cash for properties in that particular neighborhood? Not even just in the area within a mile and a mile and a half, but in that neighborhood. Are there cash buyers that are buying properties in that neighborhood, and what are they paying cash for the property? Because a little tip is that'll allow you to figure out what you should be offering the seller or what you should get the contract for with the seller. Think about it. If there are, let's say, 3 properties that are very similar to the particular property you're looking at, let's say a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and you have cash buyers that are buying those properties for, let's just say, make numbers easy, $20,000 cash for those 3 properties. Now, that generally doesn't happen for all 3, but just for example purposes, let's just say all 3 of those properties were paid for in cash at $20,000 by a cash buyer. Well, what does that tell you? That means if the seller's asking for $35,000 or $40,000, that's definitely way above what you could probably wholesale a property for. What you need to be in terms of being able to get it under contract. Use a number of sources, whether using Zillow, whether using PropStream. You can find out information about those properties. Look at photos that are on Zillow or on PropStream. There's photos that are usually available. And you can figure out what the condition of those properties are and see if those cash purchases are also similar to these cash purchases. Now, in general, if they're not totally renovated properties and there's a number of properties that are being bought cash around that price range, you pretty much want to be around that price range. Especially in my case where there was fire damage, there's not a lot of properties. If you look at a number of properties in an area, more than likely 90% of them aren't going to be fire damaged properties. So you definitely want to be even lower than that. And what I mean by that is, again, if they're paying $20,000 cash for those properties, then if you got it under contract for $10,000, that means you kind of get an idea of what you could wholesale the property for. You could wholesale it for $10,000 because there's buyers that are buying it at $20,000 for those particular properties. So I figured out what the ARV was, and I figured out, I thought, what the cash purchase should be. So I originally was going to contract this property for $30,000 with the seller. They originally were asking somewhere around upwards to $39,000 to $40,000. I got them down to $30,000, explaining to them the renovation and things like that that are have to be done on the property. And here's another tip. Because this isn't a market that I don't typically work in very regularly, I work with an investor or a wholesaler who has a huge business and does a lot of transactions. So if you're looking to do business in other areas, you want to build relationships in general in real estate, but especially if you're wanting to do real estate investing virtually. So I actually live here in South Carolina, but I also do deals in Georgia. I also do deals in Alabama. So this particular wholesaler has a huge business in Alabama. So those individuals can kind of be your guide and can kind of give you more insight on what properties are selling for. You know, is this neighborhood a good neighborhood, a bad neighborhood? It's a great location, etc. Those individuals can help you and give you an eye that you may not be able to see from where you are locally. So this individual pretty much corrected my, let's say, expectation of what I needed to get this under contract for. I thought I was going to be good at $30,000, but it actually ended up being that I needed to be somewhere closer to $10,000. So guys, I already negotiated this guy down $10,000, and now I need to go down another $20,000, which is crazy, right? That's a big jump, right? For someone thinking they're going to get a certain amount, but they're really going to get $30,000 less than what they were originally thinking, especially when the price of the property is a little bit lower. I mean, of course, if the house is worth $500,000 and it's $30,000 less, I mean, we're not talking that much of a difference, but if you're talking about a property that probably is worth around $50,000 to $60,000, but you're going to be negotiated down $30,000, it's a big difference. So I really need to buy this property or get it under contract for 10 grand. You know, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually play the call, and I'm going to walk through how I was able to get the seller who was originally asking for like around $35,000 to $40,000 all the way down to $14,000 for this deal to actually be able to work. There's some interesting things that I said and some things that you guys want to think about when you're talking to sellers that can really help you out with that. So we're going to go ahead and play this call.
Hey Charles, how's it going? This is Miles.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey Charles, so here's kind of the deal, man. So looking over the property with my partner and I, and we're just trying to figure out, man, how can we just help you sell this thing, get it over with, like make this thing happen, so you just don't have to deal with this thing back and forth anymore. Get somebody in there, you know, have to do showings, et cetera, et cetera. We wanted to kind of look at what was going on.
Let me go ahead and just stop right there, because there's something that I really did for the seller, and I like to create expectations for the seller, and basically those expectations are, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to just get the lowest deal, you know, lowest offer that I could get accepted and just move on. I really want to help this guy sell his property. So what I do is I set that expectation. Man, you know, I'm really looking this over with my partner. We're just, you know, we're really trying to figure out how can we just help this guy sell this deal, get this thing over with, because again, we're really touching on the pain point or the motivation, which is really important for you to find out. And for him, he really wants to get this property sold. When I originally spoke to him, he's been sitting on this thing and he just really wants to get it sold and done with and over with. So I really wanted to touch on that and just say, man, we're just trying to figure out how to do that. We want to really help you just get this thing sold so you don't have to deal with this anymore, have showings, have people go in and out. You know, I'm really touching on that pain point so you can kind of, you know, feel like, yeah, man, it would be good to not have to worry about that anymore and just get this thing sold. So very important to really set the expectation
In that area, because we buy properties based on what's happening in that actual neighborhood, obviously, right? I mean, we have to kind of go based on what's going on that property. Also,
so another expectation is letting the seller know where the price, I mean, there's a number of reasons of where I'm coming up with the price, and you'll hear that as we move forward in the call. But one of the first expectations is setting the expectation that we buy properties based on what's happening in that particular neighborhood. So they aren't really, you know, they can't really think about what's going on, you know, a couple neighborhoods or a couple blocks down the street, or, you know, I heard Joe Schmo was selling his house for this or that. We're looking at your specific neighborhood. We buy properties in your area, in your neighborhood, based on what's happening in that neighborhood. Just reiterating that and really putting that at the front of mind for a seller so they understand really where you're coming from with the price that you're going to offer them.
You kind of, sharing with me that there's some fire damage stuff going on in there. Even though it's a little exterior, there's just, some stuff going on with the property that way. So one of the ways that we, we'll buy a property cash, sight unseen, meaning you don't have to worry about us even going into the property because we're basing what we're buying it based off of what's being bought in that area. So what I mean by that is your actual street, Francis Avenue, you probably know these properties.
So I'm going to go in. There's two things that are about to happen right now. So I, again, set the expectation for him that, this price that I'm giving you is based off of the fact that we won't even see the property. So that helps you, that helps support your price being so low when you offer them. So remember, this guy wanted like 35 to 40,000. I'm going to be offering him like $10,000 for the property. But I'm setting the expectation on why. I'm going to offer you that, sir, because we're going to help you move this thing quick. We won't even go see the property because I know if I can get it down to 10,000, it's a done deal. It doesn't even matter what's going on with the property based off of the conversation that we had and things like that. Of course, there needs to be a property there, obviously. But based on the conversation that we had, if I can get it under contract for 10,000, I know it's a good deal. I don't even need to see it. And I want to let him know that that's where that price is coming from. I kind of paused a little bit before moving forward, but where we're about to go is me now also adding to the expectation different comps that support why we can only offer you that much based off of, again, what's happening in that particular neighborhood. So Mr. Seller, we buy properties based off what's happening in that particular neighborhood. And then I'm giving him real world examples. I'm not just saying that just so I can have a low ball offer. I'm not giving him a low ball offer. I'm giving you actual data and information on what's happening in your particular neighborhood. This is what people are buying in your neighborhood. So, it just makes sense. How can I pay more than that if this is what people are buying for? It just makes sense. So we go into that a little bit moving forward.
But we're looking here at the public record. So you have 2, which is on the same street as yours. Yours is 2. So that was sold on January, February, March, April, May, June, July. That looks like, so it says 7/30/2020. So that was July. That was sold for $9,001. And it's literally the exact same property as yours. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It actually has a huge lot, a way bigger lot. And it's a newer built property. So again, you can write that down if you want to take a look. 2 sold for $9,000. Same type of property as yours, same condition, same concept. Yours actually has a little bit of fire damage, so it's a little bit more work on that one. But also two, so also on the same street, sold for $2,000. It's a 2-1. So and it's a 892 square foot. It's a little bit more square feet and a little bit bigger lot. It's about.
So as you guys can see, I'll try and move forward with the call here. You may not always be able to find comps that are on that particular street that the property's on. You might have to find, obviously, within that neighborhood, within half a mile, within that neighborhood. But if you do have comps where there's cash purchases on that particular street, you want to use those as comps for the seller to understand why you're offering what it is that you're offering. So I'm telling him, man, people are paying like $9,000 or less for these properties that are on your same street. So this is why I need to be where I need to be with your property.
About 5,880. So here's kind of the deal, man. We're willing to just take this off your hands. We don't even have to worry about trying to coordinate with us getting into the property. We'll buy it sight unseen, and we'll pay closing costs. We'll pay cash. But I'm willing to do just $10,000 cash, just to buy it cash, be closed with it, be done with it, and just buy it sight unseen. I don't even really care about the fire damage. We'll figure that out and everything else going on with the property. So you let me know if that's something you want to entertain, because we have to kind of buy what's going on in that neighborhood. And
I hear you. I paid more than that for it a few years ago. And I'm not willing to sell it for 10, I can tell you that. But I'll give it some thought and I'll take a look at the neighborhood. I grew up in that neighborhood. It's been a long time since I've been there, but there's no new homes that have.
So what I wanted to do there is I wanted to pause. One of the things that I learned and you learn in sales, if you're in sales or just in general, is the first person to talk loses. So the idea is when you go for the ask, so you say, hey, I'm willing to offer $10,000, boom, and you kind of pause. You want to let the seller sort of talk their way either into that or just talk in general, because a lot of times you might talk yourself out of the deal, right? If you continue trying to convince the seller, they really kind of, it's almost like shark with blood in the water. Like they really just smell that, and they really start to become more on the defensive side. But you really want to give them the opportunity to feel like, you don't really need to chase them. This is exactly what I'm able to do. And you want to allow them to kind of just talk themselves either into the deal or out of the deal. And then you want to allow them to say things that you can actually work with. Because if you're the one always talking, you're not really hearing from the seller what their perspective is. So notice, I almost wanted to say something, but I just stayed quiet and let them just keep talking. And then it allowed me to hear him say he'll get back to me, right? So I didn't respond right away when he was like, yeah, I can't do it for $10,000, because he paid more than $10,000. So he actually paid more than $10,000 for the property. So he said he definitely can't sell it for $10,000 because it obviously would be at a loss. So he said he would get back to me, once I stayed quiet. So that allows me to go, okay, and let me jump in here, really quick, because I don't like to leave it off of let me get back with you, right? You never want to let a seller just say, hey, I'll call you back, I'll let you know, I'll get back to you. You want to either get a yes or a no, and that's actually what we get on the call here. We get a yes, but you want to get some. You want to figure out where we're going, not because they'll just basically either not hit you back up. They'll try and go talk to other people. They'll talk themselves out of the deal. You want to figure out, where are we moving from? Is this a no or is this a yes?
I've sold in that area. You can go. You can talk to a real estate agent. You can look on the MLS. And you know that neighborhood. I've been in that neighborhood. There's no new home development. There's just nothing new going on. And
now, one thing I do want to talk about is being honest. Now, have I been in that neighborhood physically? No, but I've been in the neighborhood virtually, right? So I'm not lying to him. I actually have been in that neighborhood. I've taken Google Maps. I see what I'm seeing in the neighborhood, and I'm looking around. I don't necessarily need to physically be there. I stand there with my own 2 feet, right? Because standing there with my own 2 feet, what am I doing? I'm just seeing with my eyes. But if I could also do that electronically from my computer and just see with my eyes, it's the same thing. So you're not lying to the seller. So you just want to make sure, a lot of things that you say, you want to make sure you're being honest. So I'm letting him know, man. And I even, you also, again, you want to kind of appeal to their empowerment. So what I like to say, you'll hear me here and there say things like, and I know you know that area, or I'm sure you know these comps, or, basically just not making them sound like they're stupid, I'm sure you know that, I know you know that neighborhood, right? So you want to acknowledge that, that they have some knowledge of the neighborhood, because again, it sets the expectation that you respect them, and, you know that they know what they're talking about as well. So it's like, dude, you know that area, I know that area, like, come on, it makes sense, right? I even threw in there, you can talk to real estate agents, you can look on the MLS. I'm basically just creating the expectation. I have nothing to hide here. There's so many sources that will confirm that it needs to be around $10,000 for this deal to work.
And I'm not trying to pull anything off your leg, man. I'm an honest guy. I want to make sure that it's a win-win for everyone. That's why we'll pay closing costs. We'll buy it cash. We'll close quick. But I'm giving you actual addresses. I'm not just making numbers up. If you look at 2 Southwest on the same street as yours, it's a 2-1, same house, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. That sold for $9,001. And then if you look at 2112 Francis Ave, same street. That sold for, I said $2,000, but if you actually look at the public record, which you can do yourself, it actually sold for $1,835. It's also a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. So I'm not trying to do that. Obviously, I want to try and give you as much as possible. So that's why I'm just saying, the fact that there's a little bit of fire damage, electrical work, things that we're going to have to do. I'm willing to do $10,000 cash, and we'll just buy it sight unseen. And that's just cash straight in your pocket and just be done with it.
Yeah. I'll get back to you. I'll take a look and think about it, and I'll call you back.
So notice that I tried it one more time. You got to try it more than once. So I asked the $10,000. He pushed back. I did it again, and he still pushed back. So it's letting me know you don't ever want to give up. It's letting me know he's really not willing to do $10,000 because he paid more for that just to even have the property, which totally makes sense. But look, if you don't ask, my mom and my dad always taught me, if you don't ask, the answer is always what? No. So you got to ask the question, because he could have said yes, but he doesn't want to go down to 10,000, which is totally fine. So listen to what happens next.
Okay. I don't mind you taking a look. Call me back for sure. If you were thinking about a number in your mind, what would it be if you were to counter that? Let's just be honest. What do you need for us to just be able to take this off your hands? Because obviously you've had it for a while. It's just been sitting there. We want to make this thing work, so I want to make this work for you. But I just we can't be screwed over. You're gonna walk away. You're gonna walk away with cash, right? We're gonna walk away with a property now that there's.
So now I'm doing a little bit more of a harder sort of approach. And that's just because I'm trying to pull everything out of the gun here. You know, I don't want to say out of the gun, a little bit sort of a negative picture, but I'm pulling everything out of the bag here. So what I mean by a little bit of a harder approach is I'm trying to set the expectation like, look, dude, we have the risk, you don't. Because at the end of the day, you're going to walk away with cash. And that's what happens. Like when the property closes, you walk away, you put money in the bank, there's nothing that happens for you. On our end, we literally are taking over the property. I have to find a buyer for it. I have to try and, there's all these things. The buyer who buys the property, there's renovations, there's fire damage. There's all this risk on this side of the equation. On your side of the equation, you're just putting money in the bank. So I'm just letting them know like, hey man, let's work this thing out, but you got to help me out here.
There's risk, all types of risk. We're going to have to renovate. We don't know what's under this, what's under that. But you're just going to walk away with cash. So, what would make sense for you?
Based on that, I don't really know right now. Like I said, I bought it for more than that a few years ago. Because when I bought it, it was, there was no fire, there was no AC, and all that was already in it.
Right. That's the challenge. Is it kind of got worse, right? Kind of with the accident. So, well, let me do this, man. I really do want to help you out. I'm looking at the records. I'm sure that was you that bought it for $14,300. If we could get what you got out of it, even though it's really in a worse condition, would that work?
It would.
Okay. Well, I can't completely promise you that, but let me talk back with my partner. Let me see if we could actually do $14,300, and I'll get back with you in literally like 10-15 minutes, and we'll go from there. Okay, brother. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Wow, guys, so we got a yes. So we had someone who originally wanted $35,000 to $40,000, got him down to $30,000, then had to also get him down to basically $14,000 is where we're going to land with this actual deal. But you guys can hear really the conversation and really like the journey of how to really get to that. It wasn't about just being rude and being aggressive and being a closer. You'll hear that all the time. Closer, I'm a closer. No, I like to go the approach where I want to help this seller out. How can we help you make this thing happen? I even got to the point where I said, hey, it looks like you paid X for the property. What if we can help you just get what you paid for it? It's in worse condition. Technically, you should get less because it's in worse condition. But what if we could just help you get what you paid for it? So now he's not out any money and he's willing to take that. He said yes, right? So we're going to get it at 14. Even if we wholesale it at 16, that's $2,000. Guys, that's $2,000. Where are you going to go where you work a job 40 hours a week and you make $2,000 a month, right? Most people don't make $2,000, $3,000 a month working at a 9 to 5. And even if they are, that's a lot of hours. We're talking about a conversation with a seller, being able to get a contract for a property I've never physically been to. And we're talking about an estate. I've never even been to Birmingham, Alabama. I've never even seen the property. So it's an awesome opportunity for you to be able to do deals by, number one, building relationships and partnering with people that are in those areas that are doing a lot of transactions. Again, do you want 100% of a grape or do you want 50% of a watermelon? I'm okay with taking 50% of a watermelon. I don't need 100% of a little grape. So you want to focus on partnering with people in these areas that you want to market in, even locally, especially if you're new. Secondly, you want to learn how to set the expectation for sellers. Why are you offering them what it is that you're offering? Figure out what it is that they want. What are their pain points? This guy, as you can tell, man, he kind of wants to be done with this property, man. It has a little bit of fire damage. He bought it a couple years ago, hasn't been doing anything with it. He's older in age. I just need to get rid of this, right? That's where he's at. So how can we just help you get rid of this property, man? We won't even go look at it. Here's our price for us not even to go look at it. Don't even worry about trying to coordinate with us. We'll just buy it the way it is. You don't have to coordinate with us. So that's what we were able to do, and we were able to set the expectation all the way through to get to the point of helping them. We'll just get you whatever you paid for it. We'll get that out and help you just put that back into your pocket. So now this can be a great deal. I can wholesale it for $16,000, $17,000. The goal is to start at $20,000. More than likely, we'll probably land somewhere around $18,000, and it'll be $18,000 or $19,000. It'll be a quick $4,000 to $5,000 deal, guys. That's $4,000 to $5,000 helping someone sell their property with a property I've never seen, never physically been to in another state. So that's an example of how you can invest in real estate virtually, and that's also another example of how you can communicate with sellers when you're talking about properties that they want to sell. And it's also an example of how it's important to work with other investors locally in the area, because what if I got it at 30,000? Man, I'd be stuck with that deal. But because I had a conversation with another buyer or another investor in that area, the expectation was getting him down to 10,000, which allowed me to get him all the way down to at least 14. So anyway, hopefully this helped you guys and really added value and helped you in your business when you're talking to sellers. I'll try and do more deals. I'll try and do more videos like this where I'm breaking down calls as I record them. But other than that, thank you guys and have a blessed day.
I never fit the shoe until I do or something. Yo.